Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, Lynn.
The We have a lot of people still joining.
All right, it looks like it's 6:30. I think people are still logging on, and I imagine we're still working to get to a quorum here.
We have 3 or 4 more joining.
Looks like Diana Chakutis is not going to be able to make it. She's on vacation, was going to try to log on, but I don't think she's going to be able to. She just texted me a little while ago.
Okay.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready for me to do a roll call, I can.
Yeah, I think we're now at the quorum, so why don't we please do a roll call?
Okay. Mayor,
Present.
Brian Castellanos.
It's Castellanos, present.
Castellanos. Deborah Ruggiero,
Present.
Diana Charcutis,
Not with us.
Flory, I apologize. I don't know how to say your last name.
It's Makua.
Makua.
Yep. Present.
Jessica Gerada,
Present.
Jim Ridley,
Present.
John Ford, Joe Smart,
Present.
Karen Miller, Kevin Ritterhouse,
Present.
Lauren Drago, Lorraine Gately,
Present.
Michael Bertino, Michael Donovan,
He was on mute though, but he's present.
Pat Tutwiler. Sorry.
He is no longer with us.
So okay, I wasn't sure if he was joined tonight or not. Peter Koulikitis,
Present.
Rich Marlin, Rick Starbird,
Present.
Stephen Smith, Tom Mannion,
Present.
Tom McGee,
Present.
Wayne Lozey, okay,
And I think Lauren is logged on as well.
Hi, yes, thank you. Sorry I'm late.
okay. I think you have a quorum.
Terrific. Thank you, Lynn. So I think we have a relatively brief, more of an update tonight. Lynn, do you want to start through the administrative items?
Yes, I will. I'm gonna share my screen, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Okay, our agenda tonight is we're gonna run through some of the administrative actions, then we're gonna talk about where we're at with the designer procurement process and some next steps. And then we're gonna briefly run through the schedule and then at least one other thing under the other business category, and we'll open it up for further discussions. First on the agenda is congratulating Deb Ruggiero as the acting superintendent and welcoming Molly Coyne as the acting deputy superintendent. Welcome aboard. And then because we voted Patrick Tutwiler as being one of the 3 local representatives on the MSBA designer selection panel, I feel that we need to approve Deb as a replacement.
Make a motion to approve Deb as a replacement.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Okay, hang on. Have to switch to my other screen to be able to see.
Just for the record, who was the second? Who seconded the motion? I wasn't.
Jim Ridley.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's gonna take me a minute. I gotta Tim, can you do the roll call? Because when I'm sharing my screen, I have a hard time pulling up the list of people on the on the meeting minutes list.
Yep. No problem. Let me just bring it up quickly on my screen. I'll just start at the top. Mayor Nicholson.
Yes.
Uh, Apologies if I mispronounce anyone's name. Brian Castellanos,
Yes.
Deborah Ruggiero,
Do I vote for myself?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Diana, and how do you pronounce your last name? Tracudis?
Sarkudis.
He's absent.
Okay. Flory Makawa,
Makua, yes.
Makua, thank you.
Yep.
Jessica Geraldo,
Yes.
Jim Ridley,
Yes.
John Ford,
Absent.
Art,
Yes.
Karen Miller,
Absent.
Kevin Ritterhouse,
Yes.
Lauren Drago,
Yes.
Drago, okay. Lorraine Gately,
Yes.
Michael Bertino,
Absent.
Michael Donovan,
Yes.
Molly Cohen,
Yes.
Peter Kolitas.
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Kalakithis, it's fine.
Kolitas, thank you. Rich Marlin,
Yes.
Rick Starboard,
Yes.
Stephen Smith,
Absent.
Tom Mannion,
Yes.
Tom McGee,
Yes.
Wayne Lozzie.
Absent.
Okay. I believe that's everyone.
Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of the June 22nd SBC meeting minutes. You should have received that as part of your meeting packet.
Motion to approve. Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Tim?
Mayor Nicholson,
Yes.
Brian Castellanos,
Yes.
Deborah Ruggiero,
Yes.
Diana Tracudis,
Absent.
Flory Makua,
Yes.
Jessica Geraldo,
Yes.
Jim Ridley,
Yes.
Joe Smart,
Yes.
Karen Miller,
Absent.
absent. Okay. Kevin Rittenhouse,
Yes.
Lauren Drago,
Abstain.
Lorraine Gately,
Yes.
Michael Bertino's absent, right?
Yep.
Michael Donovan,
Yes.
Molly Cohen,
Yes.
Peter Kolakitas,
Yes.
Rich Marlin,
Yes.
Rick Starboard,
Yes.
Stephen Smith,
Absent.
Tom Mannion,
Yes.
Tom McGee,
Yes.
and Wayne Lozzie.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of the monthly invoices. However, the SBC is not required to approve the invoices. I did want to put this up here so that you're aware of the expenditures against the budget. We have Leftfield's first invoice from the beginning of our contract to July 31st, which is $17,143. Just to give you a budget update on that, indicates that we have committed 16% of our feasibility study budget, and with Leftfield's invoice, it represents 1% expended to date. You'll see this budget develop as we move along, but for the feasibility study and schematic design phase, we only have 4 budget categories. Once we get the designer on board and fill in their contract balance, we'll realign the budgets. As you see here, you had an original budget of 340 for the OPM, and our contract was for 230. So we removed 100,000 of that budget line and moved it down to the other, which is a contingency budget line. Once we get the designer on board and align their contract, we will submit a budget revision request to MSBA to realign the budgets in their pro-pay system. I don't know if you have any questions on that. And as we move forward, there's a lot more lines to the budget that we'll develop once we get past the feasibility study phase. Again, this is both the actual cash flow on a monthly basis and the cumulative cash flow. And it's based on what I originally projected out, the total budget of 1,510,000 for the feasibility study and phase. And then we'll track it against what our actual expenditures are on a monthly basis. So we'll be reporting this to you monthly. Then just a quick update on the designer selection process. We did submit the final RFS after going back and forth with MSBA on it. We submitted the final one to MSBA on July 12th. The advertisement appeared in the Central Register Combis and the item on July 20th. And we had a designer site visit on July 28th. That was led by Mr. Donovan, and Tim Baker from our office was there as well. The proposals were due today. Tim, I don't know if you want to give an update on what you received.
So we received two proposals. We received one from Raymond Design Associates, who were the designer for the Thurgood Marshall Middle School. And then we received a second proposal from Feingold Alexander Architects of Boston. So next steps are we will basically, there's some paperwork we have to fill out for the MSBA by next Thursday, end of the day. Lynn, correct?
Yes, by the 25th of August. We have to fill out references on both firms, as well as do an evaluation matrix on how well the proposals line up with the criteria outlined in the RFS. And then we package that together with the proposal and send it to all of the MSBA DSP representatives, as well as the 3 local DSP representatives. And we are on the agenda for the September 13th review with the full DSP with MSBA. If we end up having interviews, they will be on October 4th. I will say that I received a couple of calls from designers saying that they were originally going to submit, but decided not to because we had indicated the possibility of doing a model school, and they weren't interested at that point. And that was Perkins and Will and Miller Dyer Spears. We had several more than that at the walkthrough, right, Tim? Other design firms?
Yeah, there were 5 at the walkthrough, including Perkins and Will, Miller Dyer Spears, and then I believe HMFH was also there, among some engineers who were looking to get on their proposals. And then we did have contact from a local firm. I'm blanking on the name at the moment. They wanted to get a tour, and we also provided them with all the all the people who had requested proposals and attended the walkthrough to see if they could get on any of the proposals. You want me to look it up quickly? I'll find out who the firm was, but they're on the Lynn Way, not far from City Hall. If I recall quick.
So we're gonna try to be inclusive with the local firm there.
That's because they were a WB and MB firm as well, which are requirements for the project.
So I know, Tim, you had said you had 9 copies of proposals. Do you want to talk about the distribution of those?
Yes. So 2 of the hard copies go to the members of the MSBA Designer Selection Committee. That's a change. We used to send upwards of, I think, 12 or 13, but now all but 2 members will use digital. I left 3 copies of each proposal with Tim Leonard's office. One for Mayor Nicholson, one for Mike Donovan, and one for the superintendent. If anyone else would like copies, I have about 3 extra copies of each proposal. If any members of the committee would like us to get them a copy. Otherwise, I do have digital copies, which I will email out. I can email out to anyone.
Okay. I thought it would be a good idea to quickly, well, first I see some comments in the chat here. We will be uploading the electronic files to MSBA's Dropbox folder, but we will also provide a link to everyone on the school building committee that's interested in taking a look at the electronic copies. So you all have a chance to take a look at it and, provide any comments that you might have. And typically the designer selection panel meetings start, I think, at 9:30, but it depends on what our time frame is. MSBA will tell us when that is as we get closer. We could be first, second, or third. I don't think they usually take more than 3 per meeting. So, and a few of you said you would like copies. Does that mean you want hard copies versus electronic copies, or?
and digital will be fine.
Okay. All right. So we will provide everybody with a digital copy, so you'll have that. And just a quick overview of the designer selection process. These meetings are open to the public, so you're welcome to attend. If anybody's interested in attending, I can pass along your information so that MSBA can send you a link to join the meetings. As we said before, we will be submitting the designer applications and all the supporting documentation to each of the DSP members through MSBA's Dropbox link. At the meeting, the chair of the DSP will consider each proposal in whatever order he wants to take them in. After they've reviewed each of the design firm's proposals, they will rank them, and you rank your top 3 choices, and the points are assigned by 3 points for first place, 2 points for second, and 1 point for third. And then after that point, based on what the outcome of the rankings are, the DSP will decide whether or not they're going to interview applicants or not. And then they will issue a formal letter once they have ranked the firms. I will say that what we will do moving forward is, this is just an example of the scoring ballot. So we'll provide you with that in advance, so you have it in front of you when you're ready to score. But we will, what I wanted to say here on next steps is, between now and September 13th, preferably between August 25th and the 13th. We'll try to get a meeting together of the local DSP members so that we can just be prepared as we go into the DSP meeting. We're not supposed to rank any of the proposals in advance, but MSBA does allow us to have a preparation meeting. So we'll reach out to the local DSP members and pick a date to see when we can get together and be prepared going into the DSP meeting on the 13th. Does anybody have any questions on the designer selection process? If not, I'll move on. Just a reminder of the SBC meeting schedule. We canceled the meeting in July as we didn't really have we're sort of been pushed back a little bit on MSBA's calendar by a couple of months. Hopefully we can gain a little bit of time if we can get through this process by October 4th. But our next scheduled meeting is scheduled for September 14th. Does anybody have any issues with that date?
Yeah, I think my office, we might need to follow up about a potential conflict, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to look for a date now to change that? Is any
Yeah,
other
did
night
we-
that week good?
Yeah, I have your schedule open. Monday, 12th.
I'm good with Monday.
Okay. Well, if everybody's good with that, we'll change it to September 12th. I do have a meeting right before that, but it usually doesn't run an hour, so that should work for me as well. And then just quickly, based on the changes that we made with MSBA during the finalization of the RFS, we ended up with a schedule that's a little bit longer than we had hoped, 15 months, and we may be able to shave a little time off of that as we move along. But ultimately, we should have a designer on board by the end of the first week of October. And then with a 6-month feasibility study duration, that puts us with a target for the preliminary design program, or the PDP, as January 18th, 2023, with a target preferred schematic report, or PSR, submission on May 3rd. And that's in anticipation of a June 21st, 2023 MSBA approval of the PSR, which pushes us into the schematic design frame. And we have a 6-month time frame for that, targeting a submission on June 26, 2023, or sorry, that date's wrong. It would be a October submission, October 25th submission for December 20th, 2023 vote. At that point, that sort of puts us, if we're waiting on MSBA's approval prior to voting locally, that puts us in the time frame of a January 2024 local vote.
Lynn, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I just noticed that the DSP review is scheduled for 9/13, and we had initially talked about having our next meeting on the 14th. Was the idea that our next meeting would follow the DSP review, or does it not matter?
Well, I mean, yes, we'd have something more to report at that point. And, we could at least, I mean, I think there won't be much to report on until after we have our initial DSP review. We would have meeting minutes and invoices and things like that to approve, but we won't have much of anything else of substance to review until after the DSP. We could give you an overview of the evaluation matrix that we fill out and some of the references, but again, I'm sure you're all interested in what the outcome of the proposal review is. So that makes sense, Lauren, if everybody would like to push out the SBC meeting until after the 13th.
I was gonna make that suggestion, if that's okay, if that information makes sense, so that we get the information, a fuller information at the meeting.
Does the 15th work, perhaps, Dania?
Fifteenth works for me.
Yeah, the 15th works for Mayor Nicholson.
Okay, let's go with the 15th then. We'll have a lot more to report on that date. So that's where we stand tentatively now. Once we get the designer on board, we'll look at these dates again.
Can I ask you a quick question? There's going to be a vote. Who's the vote from, the MSBA?
It will be a local vote if you have to have it. I don't know if
I don't
you-
think, do we have to have that, Mayor?
No, you're talking about the
just to approve the project. I don't know.
2024 vote. No.
You don't have to have one. I think.
There's going to be the school committee vote and the council vote, but there's not a public vote.
And would you want the school
Lynn,
committee?
that's your understanding as well, Lynn, right?
Yeah, I mean, the MSB doesn't require a local vote if you don't require one. I know that you know, sometimes you have to vote to approve the project, whether it's to vote to approve funding or not. I mean, that's a different story. I don't know if you have a requirement to approve the school and not necessarily approving the funding. For most districts, it's a two-part process where you approve the school and then you approve the funding. If you don't have to have the funding approved, I'm asking you, do you need to approve the school project as a,
There will not be a public vote, but there will be a vote from the city council and the school committee to authorize funding and authorize the project.
so would that be, those votes would more than likely occur prior to the December 20th MSBA board vote? Because they would probably be approving what we submit to the MSBA, correct?
Correct.
So that would probably have to happen then in October of 2024. Because we make the submission, I believe, October 25th, 2024.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay, and then just a quick overview of the entire schedule. And I'll adjust this as well to push the city approvals back into the month of October, November timeframe, which will gain us at least a month on getting started with design, which will be helpful. But this is putting us at a summer of 2026 completion with fit out and move occurring over the summer months and school starting in the fall of 2026.
Lynn, I have a quick question on the timeline.
Yes,
So when you're saying October 2024, you were talking about October 2023 for the approval, moving it back from January 24, is that correct? Or
but we had a January 2024, so we'd push it back to October, November timeframe of 2023,
Okay.
preferably October prior to the MSBA submission. So that would push us back, and then MSBA would approve it on December 20th, 2023. And at that point, we hopefully would have approval to move to the next phase, which would be design development through construction, the actual construction. So. And again, once we get the designer on board, we'll be tightening up the schedule as well. There may be some opportunities, but it looks like the most comfortable schedule is opening school in the fall of 2026. Again, there could be some opportunity to open it during the 2025-2026 school year. So that'll be up to the city and the school district to decide whether or not that's what you want to do. But right now, this feels like a comfortable schedule for getting us open for the fall of 2026.
Looks like there's a question from Flory.
Yes, Lori?
Yes, will it be a CM selection or voting as well, similar to what we're doing with the designer?
Yes, part of this process will be us giving you the advantages and disadvantages of a design bid build construction delivery versus a construction management at risk construction delivery method. We'll make that presentation to you, and this committee will be asked to vote on which construction delivery method that you want to proceed with. I will say that lately, because of the construction market and the volatility of the bid market, we have been making that decision very early on and bringing a construction manager in during the schematic design phase and using them to estimate our project so that we have a real good handle on the construction budget when we make our total project budget submission to MSBA, because the whole project is based on the estimate that we put together for the total project during the schematic design phase. And with all the volatility that's been occurring over the last year, we felt that it's important to get a CM on board early and try to mitigate our risk there by having them do the estimating for the construction.
So, well, what if we have to purchase things with long lead times, such as elevators and anything metal related?
That's another reason for using the CM at risk construction delivery method, because we'll have brought the CM on very early, and they can start as soon as the designer starts with the design development on identifying the long lead items, working with the designer to put out early release bid packages to get some of these things purchased early so that we have them on site when we're ready for them during construction. So that's another advantage of that construction delivery method that we'll review with you, and which seems to have been making a lot of sense lately with the way the
market, the industry
market
is.
has been acting. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other questions?
So I have a question about change orders. I know with a lot of schools, and not just schools, but all public construction. So what's going to be built into the system on change orders for review? So we're not getting hit with, cost overruns based on changing things that, quite frankly, the CM should have anticipated going in. Right.
That's another reason for bringing, if you did CM at risk, for bringing the CM on early, so that we have the opportunity to work with them in developing the bid packages that go out. But typically we have a 5% construction external owners construction contingency in the total project budget, as well as a is somewhere between 1% to 2% for the owner's contingency. Also, if it goes construction management at risk, there'll probably be another 2 to 2.5% construction contingency built into the GMP. The whole point is to kind of work with the CM during the design development phase to build a GMP that will, you know, will be able to build the building without change orders.
Well, any design contingency, you know, if during warranty period, we found something that was a design flawed, how can we pay for it? So is any design contingency that covers the project?
Typically, we will carry design contingency from the schematic design. Well, really from our very first estimates, we'll carry a design contingency all the way up until the bid point. At that point, our external contingencies will take care of any bid busts or anything else that we might have. Does that answer your question, Florrie?
Yes.
Does anybody have any more questions on the schedule? One thing we're really excited about is that the Pickering Middle School Building Project website is up. And then I just wanted to note that all of these meetings are being recorded and posted to the YouTube channel. But I'm going to try to, while we're here, try to click on the website so you can see it. I'm not sure I can do it, but I'll try. Can you see it in the screen share? Or do I switch? I have to switch screens, sorry. Can you see it now?
Yes.
So we have it where it can be translated into 3 languages: English, Khmer, I believe it's in Spanish. We have the homepage here. The upcoming meetings are listed here. You can click on them. This is not the place. Yeah. And then it goes, once you click on them, it goes to this page here. You can look at click on the meeting agenda. And then when you, so the meeting agenda should come up that will have the link on it. This is probably going to take a long time to download some of these things, but also under the meetings and events, you can go back to any previous meetings. So say you missed the June 22nd meeting and wanted to look at the information available, you can go back into the calendar and you should be able to open this up and see the agenda and the meeting minutes and the presentation. Tim, I'm not sure if this link's working, so we have to check on that. It may be just that it's very slow trying to share it over the Zoom, but
Yeah, it's trying to load, Lynn. I can see it up at the top.
But so you'll be able to go back and look at any previous meetings, see where the meeting minutes are, the agenda and the recording through the meetings and events page. There's a little project overview here, our status, our timeline. We'll keep continuing to fill this in. This is just from where we started, and you should be able to click on these and see each of the documents in those phases. And then we do have a FAQ page that will continue to populate as we go through for people that are asking questions. It's, you know, what is the MSBA? What does MSBA stand for? There's standard questions there. We'll continue to add more as we go along. The project team, we have everybody listed here that's on the project team. I think there's also a link to the school building committee website. Then there's the MSBA, and then left field's team as well. We'll add the designer on once they're on board. Then once the designer's on board, we'll have all the design documents as they're submitted located on this tab. And schedule, we'll continue to keep the schedule updated under this category, but this first part talks about all of the modules that we have to get through under the MSBA. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm sorry it's so slow, but yeah, I think it's because we're working on running it
Lynn,
through.
this looks great. For the languages, is that like a sort of a Google Translate plugin that the website's using, or is this being translated by professionals when you update?
It's a Google Translate program. It's not Google Translate. It's their more advanced program. It's not the free one you get online. I don't know why they'd be different, but it's what our website designers recommended. But this is one thing we wanted to talk with you. Anyone who may be a native speaker of the other two languages, if they want to take a look at this and let us know if the translation is good or if we need to find an alternative method. So I don't know how to really go about that. I imagine you have people on your staff that speak the languages. And if they want to take a look at it, Spanish is obviously I'm a little more familiar with, but Chimera I don't really have a faint grasp on. So I would need somebody with outside help for that. So if any names come to mind, just let me know and I can work with them.
Yep.
City Councilor Hongnet might be able to do that. Khmer.
The city has translation services and interpreters for a number of languages. We can connect offline to work on that and getting this translated and reviewed.
Okay, and also if those were the initial languages we got, if obviously you want any others added, just let us know.
And please take a look at the website and give us some feedback if you want anything else added.
If anyone has a better picture of the Pickering school, please send that along because I don't have a good one of it for the website. I might steal Gene Raymond's from his proposal because it's pretty nice.
Okay, that's all we had for tonight, everybody. I'll turn it over to any other business or discussions.
We got a question from Flory.
Lynn, just quick question. Doing feasibility studies, how involved will we get during the process? Will there be survey? Will be site visits? Will be interviews? I involve, this group here, this body here will be involved.
So throughout the feasibility study, the first phase is primarily focused on the educational program. So we will probably meet with this committee and suggest some focus groups for people for the educational subcommittee. Then also part of that process is the site selection. We have to go through looking at all the available sites. We'll probably have a site focus group or site selection subcommittee. So that'll be composed of members from the SBC. Then on a monthly basis, we'll bring back the information that's decided in these subcommittees and bring back as a recommendation to the whole SBC for them to vote. But that's mainly what happens in the preliminary design program phase. In the preferred schematic report phase, we narrow down the available sites to the ones that seem the most viable. We look at how we would lay out the building on the site and how we would develop the site. And we also culminate that phase with a preferred schematic or preferred option, all of which we'll be bringing in front of this school building committee to vote on. Then once we submit that to MSBA and we go through their facilities assessment committee, reviewing it, and once they approve it, we will move into schematic design, which is really developing that preferred option. And that's where we will, like you said, do surveys of the selected site. We'll do geotechnical investigations, borings. We want to get a good profile of the site so that we have enough information to estimate it correctly. We'll also be looking at how the floor plans lay out and how they mesh with the educational program, because the educational program will be our guiding document as we move forward into design. So there'll be a lot of meetings with making sure that we have the right layout and that we're meeting the needs of the educational program with the building itself. But we'll also be, again, be reporting back to this committee and asking for guidance from this committee every step of the way.
Got it. Thank you.
I see we have Mayor McGee and then Peter.
Thanks, Mayor Nicholson. Lynn, I have a question. And I think Rich talked about the overrun contingencies. My question is related to insurance for the project to protect the city's interest. We had a really situation with the new classical that was built about 20 years ago that the insurance didn't cover the millions of dollars in costs that we ended up having to have to bear for the city. So I'm just early on, just want to know, is that part of the processes we're bringing on the team and we get into the decision on how we're going to design this and build it? But it was a huge hit to the city because we weren't able to cover the costs. So I just want to make sure early on that we are prepared to protect the city's interest, the investment that we're going to make. And so that's my question. When does that piece of information come in? And is it something that we can be very proactive on to make sure that we're protecting the major investment we're going to make in the city if things go south once the project's completed?
Well, as we add each team member to the project team, we'll make sure they have the appropriate liability insurance from whatever design perspective that they're coming from, or even the left field project management, we have liability insurance as well. But as we bring the CM on board, we will look at their overall insurance as well to make sure they have there is minimum requirements from MSBA on insurance, but we also have, as we bring the CM on board, we can add additional insurance requirements if we think it's necessary. But I think one of the most important thing is during the schematic design phase that we do all of the testing to make sure that we understand, what we have for the site before making decisions on foundations and other So I think a thorough testing program is warranted before we make decisions from a design perspective.
No, I appreciate that, Lynn, and I think probably maybe Mike Donovan may be able to weigh in or Mike, I don't want to throw it at you, but we had insurance on that project that covered a very small amount of the large problems that arose from the original design of it, and that was something we tried to deal with moving forward. So I'm not trying to burden the project with massive insurance, but in the same respect, when we're asking the citizens to come up with, we're all going to invest in this. We don't want to be in the same situation that we were in after, and have years of trying to fix a school that should have been handled in the beginning, or the insurance should have covered the problems that happened. So I just want to bring it up early on because it created a huge problem for us for, continuing to take that issue on. So I don't know, Mike, if you want to, I know you probably, as anyone on the call, has been around and has had to deal with that problem and understands the limited insurance that ended up being available for us on that cost.
Yes, sir. In regards to classical, it was a design issue, and the limits of the liability policies that the designers had were well below almost half of what the necessary cost was to make repairs to the project due to the foundation design. The contractors beared some responsibility, and the insurance covered the defects in the schools, particularly around the building envelope. But given where we're going with foundations and these schools, perhaps we could, as Mayor McGee says, increase our liability insurance requirements for the designers, especially in regards to the geotechnical aspects of the project, because the sites that we're looking at, frankly, in Lynn are not very good sites for foundations.
I agree. I second this because that's the reason why I asked for this design contingency. I'm dealing with a project now. It's a year after acceptance, and we're still chasing the design team to come back and rectify the problem. So I agree. We probably should raise whatever the minimum limited liability on the projects are these days. I think it'll be best to raise it up to what we think is the right number. I agree.
Yeah, great point, Mayor McGee, and appreciate the perspective there, Lynn and Michael and Ford. I think it's a great point. So, Lynn, we'll look at that. Peter?
Yeah, just prior to me going to my question or comment, I know I'm by no means an expert in insurances, but I know there's a level of different type of liability insurance, from professional to general, and so on and so forth. So, general liability insurance covers X amount, and then professional liability covers a whole other gamut. And again, it just goes in line with what everybody else says. Increasing the liability insurance I'm all in favor of that, but defining what's general versus professional, I think will go a long way. All right. When I raised my hand originally, we spent a little bit of time talking about the schedule, and it seemed like it expanded. Again, nothing that was in anybody's control, but we haven't even started, major milestones yet, and the schedule's already changed a little bit. My question is, as you have pointed out, there are some opportunities to shave, a few months here and so on and so forth. Are there opportunities during the duration of this project, from day one till, day whatever, to not only incentivize certain milestones from a variety of different type of providers, from the designer to the contractor and the like, to make incentives to have them meet their milestones earlier, and or are there parameters in there like liquidated damages or delayed in X, Y, and Z should they not meet those milestones? You may not be prepared to answer that now, and that's a very granular question, but I just wanted to float out there as we're looking and reviewing things, contracts and the like. Are there any opportunities to either place incentives to finish things earlier, and or are there provisions in there that should things be delayed that, are obviously we have outside factors that we can't control, or the vendors or contractors or suppliers can't control, but are there opportunities to seek certain damages should that be extended past a certain milestone?
There are certainly opportunities to do that. Typically, I find that it's better to put in high liquidated damages as opposed to trying to incentivize, because MSBA, and when they look at their share of the expenses, they will more than likely not make any incentive. They would not participate in any incentives. So by putting in a higher liquidated damages clause might be the better way to ensure that you stay on schedule. I think that should you choose to go with CM at risk, I think there's an opportunity from the very beginning to work on schedule and, make sure that we can maintain an aggressive schedule from start to finish, as opposed to just a design bid build general contractor getting it and first time seeing the project and maybe losing some time based on that. So
That was helpful. Thank you.
Great point. Great question. Good point about the insurance as well. So that's helpful. Any other questions, comments? Well, appreciate everyone gathering on a late summer evening here and everyone's work so far. And we will continue to push forward. I think, if we'll be sharing that website. I think if folks can share that website with their network as well, to start kind of laying the groundwork for the level of communication that we're hoping to achieve with the community as we move forward this process. You all can be a tremendous help with that from jump, and so we appreciate it. So obviously, don't hesitate to reach out in the meantime, and we will keep everyone informed as we go through these next steps.
Thank you.
and we'll send everyone the link to the proposals that we received as well.
Great.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.